All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our Sift Masterclass. This is our first edition, so we're excited for everyone to join and go through what we have presented to you today. We'll be walking through some high-level tips and tricks in terms of how to organize your directory, as well as navigating some other features around your Sift admin. So for those that are familiar with the Sift admin already, hopefully this is a nice little refresher course, as well as maybe some things that we can help point out to you that maybe you didn't see when you were first getting your directory built out and through the onboarding process. And then for those who haven't, welcome. We'll be introducing ourselves and diving right in.
All right, sounds good. So we'll give you guys a couple minutes here just to see if we've got any last minute participants, but so far it looks like people are jumping in pretty quickly here. So that's always a good sign. So yeah, I guess we can start just by doing our quick introductions here. So my name is Tim Kamen, and I am part of the client success team here within Sift. I'm the newer of the dynamic duo of Ryan and myself. I've been with the company since April, and I'm here to be a technical resource for you, as well as assist you with all things on the client side of the post-sales process within Sift.
And same with me as well. My name is Ryan Orshell. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now. And just as Tim said, we are kind of partners in crime here. We assist with everything Sift related from a client standpoint with onboarding, questions, tips and tricks, and engagement overall. So anything you need from your Sift site perspective, feel free to reach out to Tim and I moving forward.
All right, with that being said, we can go ahead and get started. So we do ask that if you have any questions, please use the chat option within the Zoom meeting to ask those, and we will answer those questions towards the end of our presentation. Also, we will have some poll questions throughout the event today for you guys to go ahead and answer. And then also we will be providing a recording of the event within the next 36 hours or so once we conclude and do all of our cool post production stuff to it. So what is Sift? So Sift is a tool that is used for managing your people data within your organization, as well as viewing organizational charts. So most of you are clients of ours and are already well established with it. So you know the product already. The front side of it, you have your big search where you can do your main search of the program. And then you do have the ability to, again, view organizational charts, view lists that you create to get quicker access to things. So we'll go on to the next slide here. So again, you do have that Sift search feature, which allows you to search on pretty much anything you have within your organization. So as long as the data is in the system, we can search on it. So if you're looking for someone based on a specific skill that they have, or a department or a team, you can access those people relatively quickly to find the right resource you need in the quickest time possible. Then you have your Sift profile page, which is your unique page within the Sift environment, which has all of your data in there. So data could be your contact information, what they can reach out to you for, your skill set, who you report to within the organization, and so on and so forth. And this is something where a lot of the data is customizable to where you can fill it out. And then there are some sections that automatically get populated in from your source of truth. And then again, as mentioned, another key feature within Sift is the organizational chart. So this allows you to see a hierarchy of your entire organization, to see who reports to who and who is on each individual team. So it allows you to kind of get a better idea of where things flow within the organization. Another great way to find resources within your company.
All right, now time for our poll one question. Are you an admin for your organization's Sift instance? We'll give everyone about a minute or so to answer your questions, to answer the question and tally up the results.
So I guess while we wait, Ryan, what's your favorite part of Sift?
My favorite part of Sift is the ability to quickly find people within the organization, utilizing the big search bar to find a particular department, skill, project. I love the tagging features, as well as the one of our newer features that we rolled out this year is the dynamic pages, which will allow our clients the ability to create pages for members to be organized, to join, and be able to search on those pages, and also have the ability to have badges for each person's profile so that you can see what pages they're a part of and be able to toggle between those, clicking on those badges. How about you, Tim?
So yeah, I think you covered a lot of them. I would say for me, even though we are part of a much larger organization, us as a Sift team are relatively small, but it's still nice to be able to go in and look up certain information about internal employees to find out more information about them. So I might Sift stalk you, as we like to say, and try to find out some things that make Ryan who Ryan is. And
Great.
look, we got a good here of admins versus general users here. So looks like the majority are just general users. So some of this will be new information for you guys. For the admins, it'll be a little more of a refresher for you.
Exactly. So now we're also going to walk you through the actual admin process and the directory building process as well. These are typically the first steps that we have when we invite a new client on board with us. We will first establish who the administrators are. These people have special access into the back end of the site. So not your typical user access. For those that voted no, that they are not admins, this is more of a little bit behind the scenes. But if you do require admin access at any point, this is, I guess, a good way to kind of show you how to do so. So again, within the owner admin access, the administrators tab within the admin will allow whoever we first set up or who we identify during the beginning of our onboarding process will have access. They can either provide additional contact information to us to add for them, or like I said, they can use the administrators tab, as you can see here with our graphic, to add their own admins. And again, these admin owners will have full ability to go into the various parts of the back end of their site to help customize, to help build out the directory, or anything that they might need in terms of making wholesale changes to the site itself. All right, now we're going to walk you through a little bit of the directories and data integration. This is typically the next step after you've identified your admins, and whether it's one person, several people, we typically will have a kickoff call or be very close to our clients during this onboarding process. This is essentially building out the backbone of your site with your people directory, your people information. We have several different ways to do that. We have primary directories, we have complementary directories, and we have various methods in which our clients will use their internal databases to either sync or upload to our directory. So we'll walk you through some of those today, just to give you a high-level view of what that's like and how to incorporate the various directories to make sure your people data is up to date, make sure your users have that correct information on their user profiles. And in the event that it's not or needs to be updated, this is where you would start to do that. All right, so quick poll question number 2 before we get into our actual walkthrough. is how are you currently using data, currently uploading data into Sift? Again, we have several different methods that we'll kind of walk through. But for those that voted yes as a user admin, they're probably already familiar with some of these options.
Yep, and while you guys are going through and answering that question, I can give you just a quick brief explanation of which each one of those are. So a CSV is a comma separated value document. So essentially it's an Excel document that's kind of stripped down of its extra bells and whistles and features that you can typically do in Excel that would house all of your data in there. Azure AD stands for Active Directory, is a cloud-based system that holds all of your data in there that your IT team typically manages. And we can connect to that, and it will automatically reach out and check once an hour to see if there's any changes, and it'll pull those changes into your Sift instance and update them during those time periods. With the CSV file, we do have ways of automating that, so it's not something you have to do manually every single time. We can always go through those steps with you, if that's the route you're going. LDAP is another form of Active Directory, but that's more of a localized, non-cloud based, so not in the internet sphere. It's an actual on-premise. And then there's the SFTP, which is the method of pulling in those data sources from a CSV into your system. So it's a file transfer.
All right, so it looks like we have some poll results here. Looks like for majority, they're either not sure. So maybe that's also correlated between or correlated with people that are maybe not currently administrators, but it does seem also the second most is at 36% is the CSV, followed by the Azure AD, which makes a lot of sense. For the most part, when we're going through the onboarding process, most of our clients or prospects will elect to use the CSV file, just as Tim explained. It's a quick way to have your people data organized on essentially a spreadsheet, which you can then quickly map and upload into the directory. The Azure AD, which we'll walk through both, is a little more involved in terms of making sure your internal HR platform has an automated sync into our site. So both systems are essentially talking to each other. So again, there's a slightly different way of setting those both up. However, both obviously serve the same purpose in keeping your people data updated. All right, apologies for that. It was covering my open tab. All right, so for those that, again, are either signed up as admins, they might already be familiar with this, but we wanted to give you kind of a live walkthrough just to show you some additional tips and tricks in terms of navigating your admin. And for those that don't have admin access, this is actually kind of cool because you'll be able to get a peek behind the curtain as to how your organization is building out your Sift site. So your directories tab, again, is going to be where you're housing all of your people data. From here, you can have multiple directories. Some clients have, depending, maybe they've got several different offices or branches of their organization that use different methods to update or to organize their people directories, their employee directories. So we do have the ability to sync to all of those various methods. Just for the sake of for the meeting today, we already have a preloaded CSV file in there. However, I will also walk you through creating a new directory. So we'll just name this one test for now. We'll go ahead and hit create. And as you see here, it is going to ask you for your primary source. Again, your primary source is going to be how you're actually going to get your people data in there. Again, based on the poll results, Azure Active Directory is one of the most popular, along with the CSV method as well. So once you have that established of how you're going to get your people data within the site, you will choose which method you're going to go with. And then that will bring you to your mappings tab. Now, your mappings tab is going to be how you're organizing the people data, for this example, on your CSV file, and how it's going to get into the profiles. So right now, think of this as you're pointing your people data in the right direction. The first and foremost, most important thing here is identifying your primary key. This is your unique identifier for how you're going to identify each individual Sift user within the site. Most common is employee ID. So if your organization utilizes an employee ID, that's what we highly recommend using, because that number doesn't ever change, and that's a constant for that individual, for that employee. Others I've seen email as well, something that's not changing very often. In the event that it does need to be changed, of course, then that would change that person's profile. However, we do have the ability to get that information quickly back into their profile. But again, primary key is going to be something that is fairly constant for that employee. And then, of course, just the required attributes, the minimum required attributes to have a Sift page within your organization Sift site are just these three things here: is your first name, last name, email. So combine these together, you have at least what you need to gain access as a user and have your own page within the Sift site. As we scroll down here, you'll notice this term attributes. Attributes are essentially these sections of information here. Additional attributes that we will allow are anything that you have internally. We have a predetermined list, which we'll cover after this, but from here, based on what information you have on your CSV file, you're going to want to add that mapping. And again, on the left-hand side is going to be from your system, and on the right side is going to be where you want that information to populate on a Sift profile page. So for example, if you have a job title column within your file, you would then put that column title in here. And one quick thing to note is that it is case sensitive. So if you are utilizing a CSV file, you're going to want to make sure that job title column looks exactly like this. So what I will typically recommend, or when Tim and I are going through the onboarding process, is literally copy and paste your column header into the left-hand side here. That way there's no room for error. I know it's very finicky, but like I said, it's reading that information directly from that column. So copy and paste is usually what I recommend. And again, it's pretty self-explanatory from here. You're going to hit this drop down, and here is our menu of available attributes in which you could direct your information to. And of course, no brainer, you're going to want to put your data here on the left, and it's going to populate in the job title section. So on and so forth, based upon how much information you want to have on that person's profile. Another one would be company name, if there's multiple companies within your organization or different branches. So we have that, department.
And while he's doing that, if I can interject and give you a kind of a little bit of a pro tip, he had mentioned how it is case sensitive. One thing that you can do before going in and doing all of these mappings, and it'll be the next thing that Ryan shows you, is actually uploading the CSV. When you upload that CSV, it's going to automatically read those headers. And so when you come back to this page, if you were to click in that box, you'll see a pre-populated dropdown of all of the headers that it sees. So you can just pick and choose which ones they are. So that way you don't have to type it and worry that, oh, is the T capitalized on title? Is there maybe an extra space at the end that you can't physically see? So that makes it a lot easier to go through and set those attributes up and get them mapped properly without, having to worry too much that you're not getting something correct.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Tim. Not only do you have that little trick that you could do with CSV, but also for our users that utilize the Azure Active Directory, once your data is synced to this directory screen here, you would also see the ability to have that drop down. So same functionality there once you have that information pre-populated. So again, as much information as you would like to pre-populate onto a person's profile, you're able to do so, again, by adding as many mappings. If you happen to have a column of information that we don't have in our predetermined list here, we do have the ability to add those attributes down the road, and that's something we'll cover on our next section here after this, is the ability to create your own attributes and sections and have that custom information that it is from your, maybe from your organization only, or again, we don't have it available in our menu. We're able to create that and make sure that information is mapped. So there's a lot of customized options outside of building the directory in terms of how you see it right now. And once you have that information, another thing that we're going to want to point out that is very important is your team leader hierarchy. This is essentially your org chart. So the same idea as your mapping here is, if you want to utilize our org chart feature, you're going to want to make sure to organize that information in the same fashion that you would here. So you're going to want to hit the add hierarchy mapping. And the one thing that I always like to point out is this manager reference property and manager match property. What this means is the manager reference property. Think of this as the left-hand side. Again, this is coming from your directory. So this will be your manager information. And then this will be who needs to report to that manager. So manager, who needs to connect to them. Typically, we'll see if you're utilizing an employee ID. Some of our clients will have a team leader or supervisor ID column. So in that case, you would put that information right here. Same idea apply, same ideas apply for what Tim and I were talking about, the case sensitive. So if you do have that column in there, team leader ID would need to be exact in here. And then, employee ID, or I've seen used, whether it's manager name or manager email, and then team email or individual email, something along those lines. But again, this is going to be your manager information, and this will be the employee information that they need to connect to. And once you have that all set, that will then connect the dots. Once you upload your directory, you'll start to see all those things connect. You'll see your people information populated within the directory, as well as the org chart. So where you would go from here, once you have your mapping all set the way you'd want it, you would hit the save button here on the bottom right corner. It might be a little bit small for screen sharing purposes, but it's a little blue button here that you can save. Once you have it saved, you'll want to go up and enable your sync. This is basically letting the system know that all of your information is good to go and you're ready to start the upload process. So you would hit your enable sync, enable the sync, and then you'd simply just come right over here to your CSV upload button, and then import your data from here. Once you click on that import data, you'll see that there is a status bucket that will pop up right here, and it will give you those steps. It will say waiting to sync, syncing, and then once you know that your data is gone through, you'll see your directory users pop up with the amount of people that you had on your file. You do also have the ability to upload photo information here too as well via CSV. We do have some other options to sync photos too as well for the Azure AD users, but same idea applies here. Is uploading your photo CSV information will be the same as your people data. So just making sure the correct photos are getting populated into the correct profiles by using that primary key that we talked about here, whether that's employee ID or email, that would all need to match up. And if there's any questions about the directory, we'll save those for the end for Q&A so we can move along. But I just wanted to give you kind of an overview in terms of just how we get that information into the system and how it's mapped. Yeah. And then again, like I said, once you have that information populated, once you go back to your directories tab, you'll see here, we've got your number of team members, so you know everything is good to go and you can proceed on. One quick thing that I wanted to touch on is the difference between your primary directories and your complementary directories. Your primary source of directory information is going to be, think of it as your people data. In the event that maybe you have additional people data that you would like to add to the Sift site, that you don't currently house in your internal database, anything outside of your Azure Active Directory, or maybe something that's not included in your CSV download, we have the ability to add that complementary source. So in the event that you have different groups of people that need to be added, think of that as always being a primary source or a primary part of your directory. The complementary source, think of that as just adding additional information to those people that are already existing into your people directory. That's one thing that I just wanted to make sure that I pointed out, because you do have the ability to create multiple people directories, and then you also have the ability to create multiple complementary sources to add more information to those people.
And a quick example of what a complementary source could be would be, say, you have a complementary source data file in there that houses information about like t-shirt sizes. So if you are in a position where you have to order uniforms or shirts for an event, you can quickly go in and pull a record and see, how many larges and mediums and so on and so forth that you would have to order. So it's just additional information, as Ryan said, that would tie to the data that's already coming in from your primary source. But moving along, so when you're in the back end, you have the ability to go through and customize some attributes and add in additional bits of information. So when you create a new attribute for data that might not be in the system already, what you would do is come in and create a custom attribute. So there's different types of that data that you can add in. You can do short and long text. So short text could be something just like their name, or long text could be, say they wanted to put in more of a robust about me or a bio. It's something that would be multiple lines that they could add in there. Contact information is pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted to add in additional bits of contact information, like a cell phone number, or if you use like WhatsApp or something like that, and you wanted to add that type of phone number, or a fax number, because hey, we still fax nowadays. So sometimes you might need to put something like that into the system. Then you have your select and your multi-select dropdowns. The difference between those, they're pretty much the same. The only difference is select is just choosing one option from in that dropdown. Multi-select would allow you to choose as many options as you would like from that dropdown. And then you have your chips and your collections, which those are very similar to that select and multi-select, but allows you to then click on bits of information to generate results on them. So if you were to choose, have a hobbies chip collection, and someone put in reading or biking, you can click on that actual chip that says biking, and it would generate a list of everyone else within your organization that shares that same interest or hobby. The Boolean, that's a fancy word for meaning yes or no, or true or false. So those are typically radio buttons that would have a yes or no answer on there. And then the pages, that's something Ryan's going to touch in a little bit here, the dynamic pages, which would be allow you to see what pages or collections of pages that those people within Sift may belong to. So that could be based off of building location, hobbies, for example, or, book clubs and stuff like that you might have within there. And then the last but not least would be like your links, your dates, and your numbers. So if you wanted to have a link to an external website, say their LinkedIn profile, they could populate that in there. You could have dates in there, for birthday or anniversary day, where we already have a hire or anniversary date field in there. But if you wanted to have, something secondary, like a wedding anniversary or something like that, if you wanted to be able to send out a card to someone for a milestone such as that, you could. And the numbers are, again, just a self-explanatory field where you can type in numbers in there. And then this page right here is what you would go through to kind of configure the layout of your Sift profile. So when your users are on the front side and they're viewing their profile, this is the layout of where everything would be on those pages. So you can see in the graphic image here, you can drag around things, you can move them up and down, you can add in whole sections which would have additional information in there, or you can add in single attributes in there instead of housing them under a specific subcategory or group. And again, this is completely customizable. You can move things around. Any of those additional attributes that you may have created on the slide previously, you can click on those add attribute links there, and then choose them from the list of ones that are readily available that you could add into the system.
Great, thanks, Tim. And one also thing to point out is the ability to add sections as well. So when you see here this image will reset in the top right corner, you'll notice the add sections. And again, to Tim's point, this section is fully customizable. One thing I always like to point out, because I've seen it in the past, is when you have multiple admins, owners within the same site, do keep in mind that when you are changing the order of things around, it is not just for your page, it is for everyone's page. So if you do have multiple people working in here, you know, utilizing this, the person profiles tabs, just know again that when you're making changes, these are wholesale changes.
Yep, great point. Yep. And then you have the feature management section within Sift that allows you to go through and set up additional features that you may choose to utilize. Some of the great things within there is you can configure your filtering so that when you are looking at your org chart or your list, you can filter on specific attributes that are going to be showing up within your data. You can allow for group messaging. So if you wanted to allow your users to message a group in one shot, they can message them in a group. And then you have the ability to set the name punctuation, which is probably one of the coolest features that we have that kind of sets us apart from others. It allows you to record a audio clip of you pronouncing your name, so that way when someone brings up your profile and they're about to jump in a meeting with you, I mean, my name's Tim Kamen. It's pretty straightforward. It's hard to really butcher, but I can't tell you how many times people have called me Kim or even Sam or you know, mispronounced my last name. So it's a great tool to be able to come in and click on the little microphone or the audio icon to listen to it, so that way you are pronouncing it correctly when you go into that meeting with them. And then another feature is, because we are living in a day and age where, you know, a lot of us are hybrid now and have hybrid environments. So you can turn on your time zones and your work schedules. And what's nice about this is you can set, you know, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm in the office, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work remotely from home. And you can set your hours if they may differ from day to day. So that will allow your users that when they are trying to set a meeting with you, if they would prefer to set a meeting with you in person, they can say, okay, you know, Judy's going to be in the office on Tuesday, so I'll go ahead and pull up her calendar, see what availability she has, and, you know, schedule a meeting, and you can, you know, book a conference room or something that you may need. And then you also have the ability to do some org chart highlighting, which allows you to highlight certain pieces of information within your organization chart. So for those that are familiar with the org chart, you can click on those options to highlight just by specific teams. So it'll color code everybody on a set team, accounting or sales, so that they're all showing as one color. Or you can do it by office location or job title, just to make it a little bit easier to kind of group people together and locate the right resource that you may need.
All right, now we'll move over to your general settings, which is just under feature management. And this is playing off of, again, the ability to customize your site. For your general settings, these tend to be more of the larger site settings. As you see here, this is more of your, you know, changing your colors to your company colors, your organization colors, being able to add your logos, being able to add profile headers, default profile pictures. For those that don't, so for example, some of our clients will use their company logo in place of the profile picture until that person is in and has their profile picture in there. So the general settings will allow you to do that, to pick your colors, pick your theming, and set there. Quick note, if you are an owner admin and you're making these changes, as you see here in the graphic, please be sure to hit the either preview theme or go out to your other tab, which is your primary URL, to see those changes. Oftentimes when an admin owner is making these changes, without refreshing it, they might still see that Sift purple and think therefore, it's not taking to those changes. So just a little kind of a side tip there is to, like I said, either use that preview theme or go back out to your primary tab and just refresh it. That way you'll see your changes come to life.
So that brings us to our next poll question. For those of you that are using Sift, how do you have it themed out? Do you use your own company branding and colors, or do you love our Sift purple? I mean, we're pretty partial to our Sift purple here, so we won't be offended though if you want to use your own colors. And in fact, we encourage it. Makes it stand out and be a little more personable. Ooh, we got a perfect split, 50-50.
All right, well, that's good. That's it's good to see that half of you still love the Sift purple. We do have several clients that just choose to use it just as is, but again, in the event that you want to have it more catered to your organization's colors and logos, you do have the ability to do so. And in the event that you're trying to customize something for your site, whether it be fitting a proper logo or kind of getting a color or anything that you might need help on, again, you of course can reach out to Tim and myself, and we can work with our development team to make sure any kind of site customization that you might need in terms of theming and filtering, that we can also take into that account and work with you on that.
Yeah, like you said, feel free to reach out to us. For anybody that knows me, I'm a very creative person, and this is my favorite part of it, is just kind of going through and theming it out and making it look all super pretty and stuff.
Exactly. And then, so our next section are the dynamic pages. So this is a fairly new feature that we rolled out, I think roughly around the springtime earlier this year. And again, we touched on this briefly in kind of our introduction, but this is essentially the ability to create a page catered to not just an individual. So this could be a page for departments. One of the reasons why we developed this was a lot of our client feedback was having a landing page per se for either a group or an office location or a department, or an area where employees could go and find additional information, whether that's downloading employee forms or looking into groups, whether that's professionally related or like a cycle group or a chess playing group. So we developed the ability to have these pages that our clients can use. And again, it's free to your interpretation of how it would add value to your organization. As you can see here on the graphic image, it's going a little bit quick, but you can start to see the similarity between how we utilize the feature management and the general settings tabs within your admin, and the dynamic pages follow that same sort of look in terms of adding attributes to pages. How the page is going to function. Are there members of this page? Do you need to assign admins to these pages? For pages that are more of the membership related pages, let's say for a department or a team, you're able to go in and utilize the page member grouping settings to give people roles, to invite them, but then you're also able to set settings. So maybe it's something that your organization would like a little more control on, so people can't just add themselves as members to a particular group or page that maybe they don't belong. You're able to have full control over that. So you're able to also customize that page, give it its own kind of theming, if you will, with various attributes, various information, and again, adding those members and then being able to kind of control how you want that page to interact with your users. Another thing here too, this is an example of how excuse me, a membership page would look. And again, the most primary use case we've seen so far is, office location, but I've seen departments, and I've also seen other clients get more creative. So if there's award winners, in the FOC, we have the Cavs coins. Others organizations, if you're familiar, they have, President's Club. So there's certain groups or certain, maybe you've got award winners that you want to put them as members of that page for that year. You're able to do so. And as you see here on the graphic on the right-hand side, you can add those members. So if you have someone that is in charge of being your admin, you're able to create these roles, and then people can go to that membership tab and see, exactly, what those members' roles are within that page or that group. And you're able to quickly click on their icons as well to take you right over to their page. And one thing that I mentioned too as well, these individuals you see here on this members tab, we do have the ability to add tags to their page. So if they're a part of, let's say, the Detroit office or the Chicago office, they're able to have those tags on their page, similar to that office functions button. And you're able to search for those pages, or let's say you're on one of these members' profile pages and you don't know what groups they're a part of. It's a really cool feature because then you can see that section on their page and you're able to see those badges for those pages that they're tied to, and you can click on those badges and it'll take you right over to the page as well. So again, a newer feature for this year. It's a very, very popular feature. It adds a ton of additional value to the organization. And again, there's a lot of customization you can do to these particular pages.
All right, so the next section is how you can integrate Sift into your already existing platform. So we have a few different things that you can do. For those that are in a more technical role, you can use what's called our API that allows you to have it send information over to a third-party application that might not be affiliated with Sift so that it can read that data. Another one that is very popular, most organizations will use Microsoft Teams. So we do have a dedicated Teams application. So when you are using Teams, you can either choose to have each person individually add that application into their Teams platform, or you can have your administrator actually push it all out to everybody so that it automatically gets installed for everybody. And what's great about it is if you are in a Teams meeting and you wanted to access Sift, you could click on the little Sift icon on the left-hand side as it's shown in the image here, and it'll automatically open up Sift within your Teams browser. So you don't have to actually go out to another web page and do that as open it up there. So it kind of keeps everything streamlined in one location. Also, if you are in a meeting with multiple people and you wanted to bring up that particular person's profile, you can click on their name and click on the option to view their profile, and it's going to open up a little side window, which will give you a condensed version of their profile so you can go through and quickly read about what they do within the organization. It also has that name pronunciation button that we talked about earlier, to where you can click on that to hear a pronunciation of that person's name so that you can address them properly. So those are all great newer features that we've added in here that really enhance the overall experience with Sift.
Yep, and then another also additional that's not included in this graphic is SharePoint. We have a lot of clients that utilize internal SharePoint, and we do have the ability to link to that as well.
So that brings us to our, I believe this is our fourth and final poll question. So if you are using Sift, do you use Microsoft Teams, and are you integrated with it? I know here within Sift, we kind of are on a hybrid between Teams and Slack. So, internally within Sift, we'll just use the Slack portion of it. But if we are reaching out to someone within the family of companies, we will utilize the Teams aspect of it. So it comes in very handy when we're kind of on our own small little remote island and we have to reach out to someone on the mainland, so to speak, and figure out what they do within the organization and have a conversation with them. All right, another perfect 50-50 split on this one. So
Yeah, that's great to see. Again, we do have the ability to integrate with Slack. We do have, I would say almost majority of our clients use Teams in some capacity. Some of our clients use Sift strictly through Teams, and that's the only way they do use Sift is through Teams. So interesting results there. All right. Well, that is essentially, we're kind of getting down to the final part of our webinar today, our presentation. So for those of you who had questions, thank you for holding them until this time. We can open it now to anyone that has any questions. We're happy to go use this final allotted time to answer any questions you have.
it looks like, yeah, our moderators have been doing a great job with answering questions on the fly here. Let's see, but there were some that were left unanswered. So let's see here. So Danita had asked, she said, I have a question for what is currently listed in my profile. It says that I am a security champion. I don't believe I've done anything related to be one, just wanted to confirm. So it looks like, as Laura had mentioned, that let's see, that is an FOC thing within Rocket Mortgage, if that helps to answer the question. But we can always take a look at that offline and kind of get a more detailed answer out to you here.
Yeah, and for our FOC attendees here on the call today, if you utilize the support at justsift.com, I do manage that inbox, and that is a very common request, is having either your awards section. Sounds like this is coming from your awards section. So if you do have an award that maybe is not showing, or you have an award that is somehow showing, sometimes when we manage this large directory, it's based on employee ID. So maybe there could be an event where maybe that employee ID is slightly off and it's populating on yours. But Tim and I do have the ability to go in and just simply remove things or add things to people's profiles. So in the event that, again, you have an award that you would like to reflect on your profile, just simply send us an email at support@justsift.com and we can quickly get that changed for you. As it relates to that, just as kind of a side note too as well, if let's say your contact information, your cell phone information is populating onto your Sift profile page, contact office information, most likely that is coming from our Workday or an internal source of information that's being organized on the back end in the directory, like how we went through. So again, feel free to send us an email and we can work with the internal FOC team to make sure your information is either correct or updated.
It looks like there was also a follow-up question. I can let you answer that, Ryan, in regards to Cav coins, because that's your baby project that you work on here within Sift. So Danita was asking, why are they no longer listed for what the coin was provided for?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're kind of, without getting too much into the weeds, we are reviewing how to best organize the Cavs coins. As you're familiar, it's been going on for a couple of years. So for non-FOC attendees, what they're referring to are the award badges on someone's profile. So if your organization is awarding things like a President's Club or any kind of award or recognition that you'd like to have tagged on a profile page, a Cavs coin is a family of companies related award. So again, kind of that same line, if you're seeing something that's not correctly organized on your profile, please feel free to email us. I work with the internal Cavs coins team, as well as our other clients that, if they need awards added or removed, Tim and I can work directly with you or the team that organizes those.
All right, and then we had a question from Paula Johnson. They had asked, when you say clients, you mean internal clients, meaning FOCEEs. So let me see. I think maybe when we say clients, we're referring to everybody under the Sift umbrella. So it could be FOC related. It could be someone that's not a part of the family of companies. It could be a customer that's signed on to Sift, unless you have a different interpretation of that question, Ryan.
No, I think that's good. So we have a little bit of a mixed crowd. So for our attendees that are more of, so we have our family of companies, which is our parent company that we work for and work with. And then we also, Sift also has our own client base, our own enterprise clients that I believe are on the call too as well. So we do have a little mix and match where we have our primary parent company that we work with, but we also have our own set of clients. So when we refer to as clients, it's really just anyone that's using Sift that we work with.
All right, great. So then outside of that, some, common frequently asked questions that we'll see, unless anyone has any additional questions from the audience is, do you export employee lists from Sift to Outlook for any clients of yours? You're trying to solve employee job titles being kept current in Outlook. So we don't necessarily integrate directly with Outlook. We will take that data that, well, let me kind of cycle back. So if you're using like an Active Directory environment, a lot of that data that is in Outlook is being pulled from your Active Directory. So in a sense, yes, we would be able to, match that data there. But if you aren't using that type of environment, then, we don't necessarily would, export any employee data from Sift to Outlook.
Another common question that we receive specifically more towards our users that are admin owners is the event that they're uploading their CSV file and they receive an error. Right now, we're working on a roadmap that can specify more of what that error is, but it is fairly common to have something maybe off with the CSV file. Maybe it's not even in CSV format. So what I'm getting at is that is a common question where, a client is trying to upload something, they receive an error. For tips and tricks purposes, again, when we reviewed how to build out the directory, first and foremost, I would ask you if that is your scenario to check your column headers. Make sure that there's no spaces on the end of those attribute titles. And also, just as Tim pointed out, make sure that, because it is case sensitive, the most common error that we do see is that, people are typing in those column headers instead of getting it exact. And that's where you'll typically see an error occur if it's not exact.
Yeah, then those are great points. And another one that actually just came to mind because it just happened earlier this week with a client of mine. They were getting errors and they weren't sure exactly why and why their data wasn't updating. And the reason is because they had changed one of the required fields. So earlier we talked about having email, first name, and last name as your required fields. They changed one of the headers from their source file for their first name and last name to now be legal first name and legal last name. So they didn't match in the system anymore. So all we had to do was just go in and just update that mapping to include legal in front of first and last name, and everything started to flow properly. So if you ever run into an issue like that, again, as Ryan said, check the headers and make sure that everything is matching exactly the same, whether it's casing, extra spaces, or just straight up changes in the verbiage and how it's listed in that source file.
Yep, and to piggyback off that, one last sort of tip and trick too in that scenario is very common for during the onboarding process where our clients are getting their data in there, they have their directory built, they're really excited, they click on the org chart and they just see themselves floating out there, and there's no org chart, or someone's, like I said, just floating out there by themselves. So that it's very, very common when you're doing your mapping process that we walked through earlier today, where the team hierarchy section is either not filled out or those columns are not properly mapped out together. So again, if you do have that scenario where you have your directory loaded, there was no errors. However, when you go to the org chart and there's something off, people aren't connected or nothing's populating, I would recommend going back to your team hierarchy within your directory and your admin, making sure those columns are aligned, and then further going into that file and just making sure that person has the right team leader in there, whether it's that correct ID or email address or name, and making sure those match up. Typically that will solve everything. When you have that cell within your file that's corrected, once that's corrected and you re-upload, then you'll almost always see that org chart repopulate correctly the way you need it to.
Yep. And then I guess one of the last things we can kind of cover is a frequently asked question, since we are kind of running towards the end of our time here, is you'll have oftentimes admins that'll say, we don't want our users to be able to modify certain bits of information within their profile. Is there a way to limit that? And the short answer is yes. So when you go back and you're looking at the different attributes that you can include on your pages, whether they're the canned ones that we include right off the bat, or they're custom ones that you add in there, you do have the ability to turn on and off user editing. So typically you wouldn't want a user to edit their job title because you don't want them to pretend that they're the new CEO of the company and then have someone come to them and say, hey, can I have a week off with double pay? And they say, sure, when they don't have the authorization to do something like that. So you do have the ability to lock those things down, so that way they don't have the ability to edit them. The only changes that would take place are when they're coming over from your source data. That's how they would get updated. So you do have the ability to kind of manipulate and turn on and off those things. So I think outside of that, we just have another minute or two left on our allotted time, but if there are any last minute questions that anybody within the audience has, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat now and we can address them. If not, if you do have something that comes up afterwards, as Ryan had mentioned, we do have that support email address. You can always reach out to us and ask us those questions directly, and we can work with you. Or, if we currently do work with you on a regular basis and you're one of our primary clients and you have our direct emails, feel free to reach out to us that way as well. And we can answer any questions that you might have.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. And then again, just as a quick note, we are recording this. So any team members that if you're attending or couldn't attend, if you'd like to have a recording of this, we'll be organizing that after the call, and we'll be sending that out as well So please let us know if we need to direct that to anyone else, but attendees will make sure to have a copy ready for you.
Hey Ryan, virtual high five, buddy. We did it. That was our first one. Done and dusted.
Yep.
So,
and appreciate everyone for joining this afternoon. I hope maybe you learned something a little new. For those that aren't familiar with how we build out a Sift site, I hope that was educational. And again, we'll most likely be doing this, maybe on a quarterly basis. So we'll have some new topics come in. If anyone has any suggestions on what you would like for us to cover next, feel free. We're always looking for additional feedback, user feedback. Please let us know so we can continue to kind of grow our participation in this. And we appreciate you being a part of our inaugural, our beginner class. And yeah, again, thank you very much.